Hey, welcome to Real Talk Season 2, Episode 93. I'm Todd, this is AJ, and we're back.
We're back once again for Real Talk. Once again. I don't know, man.
Nice. That is the new theme song for Real Talk. So, hey, it's so good to see you guys. I'm going to get to the business out of the way. You know what Real Talk is? If you're new, Real Talk's an opportunity where two guys just talk about life, God, the Bible, and everything in between. And guess what? We invite you into that conversation, both hearing us, but also you can ask questions or give us topics anonymously via a link above, either whether you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, Facebook, etc., or Rumble, at www.theremnant.life/real-talk.
Boom.
Click the link. It takes you to a site. You go down to submit a question, hit it, tippity-tap, type your question, hit submit, and it goes into our database completely anonymously. Couldn't find you if you tried.
Heck yeah.
So
Excited to be on Rumble.
Yeah, man, me too.
It's going to be awesome.
Check out Rumble, guys. So Rumble's like the new YouTube without bias or what is that called? Where they're controlling you.
Control?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. Speaking of, another reason why we're kind of starting to move to Rumble is, you know, we love our YouTube fam. And well, we do. Our Facebook fam too. Mm-hmm. But what we found last week is we experienced what we think might have been our first. Did we get reported? Did we get? You know, Clint is obsessed with the term shadow banned. Whatever. Yeah. Regardless,
I'm not sure what it was.
What happened was we pin these episodes on Facebook, our Facebook page, to the top every time, and it disappeared. And what really made us notice this is that our views were significant, 50% down. Yeah. So as we kind of investigated, we realized it wasn't showing up, and it popped back on today for some reason. So our guess is it was reported or shadow banned. What Fun Turn can explain that someday. Yeah. But the gist of it is it kind of, I think what he's saying is it sort of like limits our audience. Is that right? Yeah, he says yes. So that's our best guess. We're going to kind of investigate it more. So if you guys didn't see episode 92, which was called Water Walking, it should be back up now.
Yeah, it's there.
Weird thing, man, because that episode was not even something I can imagine someone even complaining about. Yeah, we've had other episodes that are way more not risque,
out
but
there.
That I can understand why a certain bias would be against it.
Sure.
So we're moving to Rumble too. Rumble's pretty cool.
I'm excited.
We're excited about that as a platform for us. We'll see. It's kind of growing. Anyway, just catching you guys up on a weird thing that happened with us. If you're wondering about my voice, especially if you're listening on podcast, I probably sound, I don't know, in my own mind, I sound like a mixture of like, hey, what's that guy? I think he passed away with a deep voice. Used to be on like South Park, I think. South Park. Played the chef. He was also a singer.
Oh, man.
I know. Something. Not Barry Manilow. Anyway.
I'm not sure.
Like him, between him and Batman. So if you guys are wondering, I don't think I have COVID.
Yeah.
Shouldn't even say that. But I don't think that I do. What tends to happen, and you know this, I get sick every December. Last year it happened the day of our Christmas Eve service.
So crazy. I remember this.
When I was supposed to speak.
Yep.
So this is fairly normal. This one's been pretty rough. Weirdly enough, this morning, I was like, hey, guys, I think I'm completely better.
Yep.
My voice was kind of back.
Yep. Now it's kind of getting weird
right
again.
Back. The worst part is the strange fit of dizziness I feel, in which I'm not.
That's a
I'm
terrible
not here,
feeling, man. One of the scariest things, literally, is when you feel like that dizziness comes and passing out. I am terrified of passing out. I've only passed out once, you know this, and it's literally so terrifying.
Great
it's so
story,
scary.
by the way.
It's a great story, but man, I literally thought I was dead. I thought I was dying. I literally remember thinking in my head as I was passing, going, Jesus, funny, please help me. Like
I'm going home.
Literally, like I thought I was out. I thought it was over, man. It was fading. Like,
yeah.
It was scary.
I had that happen in college one time. I think I told you. That's so funny. But that happened to me Sunday, that feeling. Yeah. I went up to speak and I go, I spun sort of, that's where it feels like the world's spinning.
Oh, man.
I didn't pass out as far as I know. But it was, I get it, man. So anyway, that's my voice. If I act weird today, it's probably why. It's a bummer that I was feeling a lot better. I did go outside clearly today.
Yeah,
and I wonder if Maybe it is allergies.
I don't know.
Because I was doing good, went outside.
You also brought up the point earlier of, being higher up in the.
That's true. The studio is in our
upstairs,
second floor,
right?
yeah.
So it makes you wonder if that
atmospheric pressure.
Science.
Nice. Yeah. So help us out, guys. The possibility, going back to the original point, of being shadow banned. Have you ever heard a voice like this come out of a man like me?
I knew it was going to happen.
Anyway, the inside joke, a weird thing we've been doing for years. Not years, that's a lie.
Your voice like this.
Come out of a man like me. Anyway, the fact that we could possibly shadow ban or whatnot implies, man, I'm losing it, means that it's so much more important for those of you that partner with us to share so that we get those natural, those shares that come and views that come from people sharing.
Yes.
Because we don't know if our audience is being limited.
Absolutely.
We already experienced this once post-COVID, 100%.
Right.
Guys, we were up
never
to
been the same.
People that maybe are joining us that are, we have people in 20-some different states, 7 different countries, such a blessing. But truly it is. We thank you if you're one of those. But one of the things that's crazy is people don't realize our Real Talk Live, and this is not an exaggeration, was having 1,300, 1,700, 1,900 views. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, immediately post-COVID, we dropped to 7, 6. Yeah, we haven't hit 1,000 yet. So we've already kind of experienced this once. And our web series views typically, we know what's normal and what's good.
Yeah.
400, close to 400 are usually
that's a good
the
episode.
average. Yeah. So and when you're down in the 150s, something's going on.
Absolutely. So. And it's so weird, man, because this is a thought that hit me is I wonder if. Because I know a while ago, I know we discussed the bots, like you said, because they clearly no one was in there working because of COVID. But
sure.
It makes me wonder. I don't know if they're back to work yet. But another thing that I thought of is the fact that almost not every episode, but I would say there's more often than not we'll be like Zuck, and it makes me wonder if there's how they can search stuff, scan stuff through keywords.
I thought the same. Yeah, it crossed my mind.
Oh, they said Zuckerberg or they said Zuck, so then it filters us somehow.
I've thought the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I just thought.
Who knows? We don't. Who knows? Who really knows?
Yeah.
It's interesting right now. Facebook is being sued by a bunch of states. I don't have the top of my head. Yeah. They already had to come before Congress, Twitter and Facebook, for censoring and kind of manipulating propaganda type stuff
for the election and specifically,
yes, and and any conservative type stuff. Wow. But I do know there's a lot of states, man, have sued Facebook specifically, I believe, maybe Twitter too, for monopoly, for being a monopoly. I don't know the details of that. You guys can look it up, but I think that's pretty interesting. My point in bringing that up is, maybe they have, knowing all that, they're trying to control. I don't know. You never know. Trying to control that would kind of fit what you're saying. Hey, we need to slow down some of this talk. We make jokes about it a lot, so that would be funny and terrible.
Well, it's such what an interesting concept that we've grown into as a society, and how social media is, because people value it so much, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I think we've kind of discussed this before. I just don't know if we talked about media before, but I guess that is a form of media. But the same concept applies to a place like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever you want to talk about, which is now owned by Facebook, but.
Instagram, right? Not Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram. So those places, like you said, you have a Mark Zuckerberg who owns it, or I don't know the guy who owns Twitter or anything, but those guys still have their own opinions on things. So when you are claiming to be a media platform, it's a weird place to be in, because you have your own thoughts, you have your own opinions on whatever it may be. It could be politics, it could be whatever, current events, anything. And you have the ability to either show those things or not. But it's weird because you've taken the place of a lot of news and media outlets
that's their point.
Yes. And
they have a responsibility.
Exactly. They do have a responsibility to not be biased.
That's a really great point. I think that's the point of some of the people that are saying this is, especially considering it appears that they censor or, quote, fact check news sources that don't match their preferences is what it seems, and again,
and even I've even heard of I've done a little bit of research, not a whole lot, but I'll click on something that looks interesting, and I remember seeing something about, like you said, like that fact checking. They outsource for that, is what I've heard. So it's not just like one department of like a company. Like they outsource for that sort of deal.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a massive.
So now you're breaking that chain into even more blocks of possible bias.
That's good. I didn't think of that before.
So there's different levels here. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. So, it makes me wonder how we did it back in the day. Like, for example, like say like when like newspapers and that kind of stuff started first coming around and like spreading the news of what was going on. Like it makes you wonder how they kept that non-biased, if they ever did, and maybe they didn't.
I think this is a good point. So human nature, you're probably going to have your own natural bias. So say you're writing, but I will say, I think what's been interesting is I think journalists in general, particularly when it first started, viewed their job as an honorable profession. We are the people that are seeking truth.
Right.
Our job is to, there's an old quote about this. We report the facts. You decide what to do with them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere along the line, throughout history, is I think media became politicized, and it became an arm of. At one time or another, a certain media became an arm of a certain party or a certain. Yeah. And so I don't. The real question is, I don't know if you can even go back to that.
Could say it was used as more of a tool.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I don't even know if you can go back to that. What it was before.
That's so odd, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't go into it. We could get deep, but.
Yeah.
So I have another thing to bring up. We talked about this briefly. There's been a report.
Okay.
I just mentioned this to you. In fact, I'm going to read the headline.
Okay.
This is from the Jerusalem Post.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm going to read the headline. Former Israeli space security chief says aliens exist, humanity not ready. So what's the gist of it? According to a retired Israeli general. And current professor Haim Ashed, the answer is yes. But this has been kept a secret because, quote, humanity isn't ready. Speaking in an interview to Yediot Asherat, Ashed, who served as the head of Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years and is a 3-time recipient of the Israel Security Award, explained that Israel and the U.S. have both been dealing with aliens for years. And by no means does he mean immigrants. Ashed clarified the existence of a, quote, Galactic Federation. The 87-year-old former space security chief gave further explanations about exactly what sort of agreements have been made between the aliens and the U.S. The cooperation includes a secret underground base on Mars where there are American alien representatives. If true, this would coincide with the U.S. President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force as the 5th branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. Ashed insists that Trump is aware of them and he was on, quote, the verge of disclosing their existence, end quote. However, the Galactic Federation reportedly stopped him from doing so, saying they wished to prevent mass hysteria, since they felt that humanity still needed to, quote, evolve and reach a stage where they will understand what space and spaceships are. The reason he has chosen to share this information now, this part's interesting. He explained that the timing was simply to how much the academic landscape has changed, and because he's now respected in academia. If I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized, he explained. He added that, quote, today they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities abroad, where the trend is also changing.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It's pretty crazy.
So this guy oh my gosh. So
who knows if this is true, guys? I'm just telling you, this is an actual.
Now, this is where, listen, this guy, like he said, he has the track record that I have a hard time doubting.
I know. That's the part that's weird.
And I think that's why he made his point in that last bit of it when he said, like, 5 years ago, I don't know if this would have worked out. But here we are now, 5 years later, and I'm willing to share this because of where I'm at. And it's, again, like you said, we're not going to sit here and say this is true or false, that aliens are real. I think we all have our personal opinions. I think they're real. But,
sorry, guys.
But, imagine having that kind of classified, sensitive information and holding on to it for more than 30 years. That's got to be so hard.
Well, here's the thing. We've already said this. You and I are fairly open guys.
Yes, we are.
Okay, and I'm still going, is it? like, and we talked about the possibility that if this were real, people would go insane. And some people would legitimately have die of shock.
Yes.
So knowing that, going back to what you said about keeping it secret, it's like, would you believe me if I told you that I interacted with aliens? He probably wouldn't. So it'd be like, maybe he did tell people, and they're kind of, okay, buddy, okay, Uncle Bob, whatever.
Right.
The thing is, what I want to ask you about is, say this were to be true.
Okay.
Does this change your view of the Bible and the gospel at all?
I don't think so.
You said don't think so.
Mm.
You left yourself some leeway.
I don't really know what it would change. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to think of what. I don't think it would change anything.
I mean, I agree too. People have said this. For some reason, there's this fear that if aliens existed,
it disproves God.
Yeah,
somehow.
Which it doesn't at all.
God created them. Like,
yeah,
that's
what doesn't it mention? I don't know. To me, like, we don't know what God has said to other. Like, we know the Bible is our direction.
Well, it's just like
you know what I mean. Bottom line,
we had this is kind of like off aliens, kind of, but like the Bible talks about what is it? I was really into it the other day. Was it
Nephilim?
Nephilim.
Yeah,
and that was essentially giants.
It was the offspring of demons, essentially, and humans.
Yes.
Back in it. Yeah.
Yes, and these beings.
This episode's become very interesting. All of a sudden.
These beings were ginormous.
Yeah.
Even Goliath himself was 9'9".
Yeah.
And so the idea of aliens doesn't shock me. But I guess I kind of see where they're coming from when it comes to like humanity not being able to handle this sort of deal, because if we can't even think of like giants existing, these giant beings that we've just slowly shrunk down in over the years, apparently, or just a whole different line of like being. Yeah, man. Like I guess I could see where they're coming from, but I don't know. I think you're right. I think people are very closed off to that kind of thing. Like, and I think it's because it scares them.
Yeah, it's not. We have a paradigm as humans, right? That means our basis of reality, and in that it's a room, right? We're talking about it's a box that we live in. You can't help it. It is what it is, right? Like, people don't fly. There aren't vampires. I don't know, something ridiculous.
Sure.
So when things hit that change that paradigm,
that reality,
it's hard for our minds. You have that cognitive dissonance, right? What you believe and what you thought versus reality. It could mess with you. I told you it messed with me a little bit. Excuse me. I haven't done any further research into this.
Yeah.
But like you said, why would this guy say this?
There's no like.
It also said this came out right before there's an announcement about Israel's new space. They're trying to go to the moon again or something.
Okay.
Anyway.
Interesting. But yeah, he has no like you said. He has nothing. I think he even said that I have nothing to lose here. Like, why? There's nothing to gain either. Like.
Well, I remember that thing we read too about the Navy released earlier this year.
That's what I was going to bring up too. Was the fact they literally came out and said, "Yep, Area 51's real."
There's an extraterrestrial, I believe, vehicle they found, and then we just never talked about it again.
It's true. It just kind of went in and out.
I don't know, man. It's odd stuff.
It is odd. But anyways, so my reason for bringing up something along the lines of like Nephilim, or
Nephilim, you're right.
Nephilim, okay, is because if God could make some, if something like that could have happened,
he allowed that.
Yeah. Yes, if that could have, if he would have allowed something like that to happen, why wouldn't something like aliens be, not be able to exist? I guess that's kind of the point.
It doesn't. Yeah, to me, man, like, it doesn't really affect me.
Exactly.
Affect my view of the Bible. It will affect me mentally. I won't lie to you.
Sure.
It will mess with my paradigm. It will mess with my head.
Yes, because it's a new reality.
Anyway, thought that was interesting. Just read that last night, and then you, independently of me, had stumbled upon it yourself.
Yep.
Which tells you that we tend to traverse the same.
Oh yeah.
Internet places.
I love it, man. It was so interesting.
Also found out a little more news back to Earth. Texas just filed a lawsuit themselves, the Texas Attorney General, against several states for how they handled the election, and they're hoping to get it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's starting.
I also read today.
It's starting to heat up.
This is not even necessarily a political statement, but it is, but I'm not. This is factual. That case says that the odds of Mr. Biden winning the 4 defendant states, the states that Texas is suing, so Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, is 1 in 1 quadrillion or something. More than $1 trillion. The next thing up, mathematicians have done. So pretty nuts, man. And I've also been told that we're going to see some big stuff happening in the next couple of days regarding the election. So once again, folks, not over. We'll see. You may think it is. There is no such official position called the president-elect. That does not exist. We just got shadow banned again.
right. But hey, here we are anyway. Hey, check us out on Rumble.
yeah, check us out on Rumble.
So, listen, man, I think people forget because I was too young. I didn't understand that. Like when George W. got elected, that something similar happened where they did a recount in Florida.
Yeah, we're not even at that point yet.
No.
30-some days.
Exactly. So, like, yeah, man, I don't know why people think that this 36? Is over. You know, I think people just don't want to sweep that under and not even think about it.
This goes back to what you said before. What are they being told by all the media?
It's true. They're saying that Biden is president. That's it.
This fictitious position, president-elect.
Yep.
That's not
honestly, and I've never paid a whole lot of attention to politics before this, so I don't even remember even hearing that term. Maybe I'm okay.
Like people didn't. There is no office of president-elect. They had a official seal behind them, said the office of president. That does not exist. Are you serious? Yeah, go look at it. Gosh. Anyway, guys, we're not even, it's just, I don't know.
There's a lot going on.
There's so much going on, man. So much going on.
Yes, and it's crazy. It's crazy to think that the state of where we're at right now is the fact that a general from Israel can come out and say, hey, aliens are real. We're just not ready for it. And everyone's like, yeah.
That's not important.
yeah. like whatever. Man. What? I don't know. It's just so crazy, or I don't even know. I remember when COVID was first starting to get bad, like in March, January, February, March, April, May-ish, when, we were starting to rise in that and the pandemic was officially deemed a pandemic and all that. And, on top of that, you had even just stuff going on weather. Do you remember the crazy stuff that was happening? And obviously people know about the California wildfires. I don't even know if that's still happening or not. But they had I remember seeing something about, and I remember us going what the heck? It was some sort of. Do you remember what it was? It wasn't in America, but it was somewhere.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it was.
Oh man, it was some sort of fire tornado or something.
That's what I was thinking too.
It was something crazy.
Yeah,
and oh my goodness, or I think I remember we saw something about trees that were on fire from the inside out.
Oh yeah,
and they were just imploding. Dude, what is happening?
I heard another thing I read. I haven't confirmed this yet. You guys can check it out, but this one's pretty funny. Did you send this to me? Someone sent it to me. So wrestling, okay, this in high school.
Okay,
they're allowed to wrestle, but can't shake hands due to COVID. I want to say this again. You can wrestle, right? Wrestling, high school wrestling's heavy, but you can't shake hands. Oh. That silence you're hearing is just shock of how ridiculous that would be. That is. Because that wrestling and slobbering on each other.
Oh,
and all those things,
man. No physical contact
nothing
whatsoever.
But man, do not have hand-to-hand contact. Pretty wild, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is just, what a time. That defies all logic. All logic. I'm speechless. What are you? It's okay. This reminds me of even just small stuff. It's cool that they're opening restaurants back up slowly, or trying to anyway,
places,
where you can dine in. I still don't understand the idea of having to wear a mask to go into a restaurant just to sit down and take it off.
Yeah, I know.
I don't get it.
No.
It doesn't make sense to me. And I know they're trying to skip tables or whatnot to make it socially distanced or whatever, but if you are a place and you have a lot of people in it and you can't do that and you're still sitting people, what's the point in even making them wear a mask? Because you're within proximity anyway. It just doesn't make any sense.
A lot of this is illogical, man. I'll tell you, a lot of it is to make people feel like they have control over something they don't have control over.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what do I mean by that? Could you do all the right things and still catch COVID?
Yes. That's been proven.
You have zero control. It is ridiculous that we're to the point that if someone coughs,
yep,
you're looking at them they should get out of your face.
Yep.
You're angry. It's a weird time. It really is a weird time.
Honestly, it makes me sad. So like, I hate that any sort of positive like outcome of people like being able to not what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think about it. I guess avoid. There we go. Of successfully avoiding like COVID is like the NBA, for example. Like when they put them up in that, they just put them in that freaking bubble for months by themselves.
A bubble.
Yes, a bubble. Called it a bubble, and like they're like, oh yeah, no, we had no cases. It's like, man, I don't like that, because then it's just gonna make people want to not. It's gonna make people isolate again.
You know what I would be interested to know? Statistically.
Yeah.
How many people, let's just say in America. I mean, guys, clearly COVID's real. No one's denying that.
Yeah.
And listen, it's a tragedy if one person passes away.
Absolutely.
I will never say that isn't the case, you know, and there have been people who have lost their lives to it. But, you know, we're not meaning to demean this, but let's just be real for a second. The flu kills people too, and
yes,
a lot of
does,
those
every
things.
Year.
That doesn't. I'm not saying it is important. Well, my point is, you have to decide what you're willing to live with and what you're willing to give up. I wonder how many people, if we were to do a percentage, actually agree or think that the things that we're doing are worth doing. Right? Let's say you polled every American.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I wonder if like 5% is dictating what the 95% do. Does that make sense? I'm not even talking governmentally. I'm talking just like cultural pressure.
Right.
Do the 5% control what and the 95 are just kind of like, whatever, we don't care if it makes them feel better. You know, but then you start wondering, and I know it's a big jump what I'm about to say. So before those of you who get angry, just listen to me. You know, what's the next, you know, what if, I'm not saying it's a direct comparison, but what if the 5% said that we think everyone should not wear clothes because we feel trapped in clothing, you know, or whatever else it is. Like, how far are we willing to go? Sometimes I wonder that. That would be such an interesting. We've talked about social experiments before. Like, that stuff's interesting to me.
Yeah.
And even myself, I've even asked myself, at what point do I not just? Well, at what point does Todd say, "Nah, I'm not doing that"?
Yeah.
I don't know where that point is. Because they're talking about mandatory vaccinations, man. Did you know that?
I did not know that, and that's terrifying. That is terrifying.
They've yeah, man, they're taking old hospitals and old bases and stuff to set up as mass. Now, right now, they're not saying it's going to be forced at these places, but in case for mass vaccinations. I want you to consider that for a second. You know, what do you do if someone tells you have to? Now, here's what's crazy. I mean, this stuff's happened before, right? We've gotten, you and I, most of us have had shots.
Yeah.
To go to school and stuff. And we took that as normal. So I understand that argument, right? Mumps and measles and all those things they give shots for. But there are people that didn't do it because you had the freedom to not, you know, anti-vaxxers or whatever they're called. I don't know how I feel about the concept of forcing people. I don't know. I don't know what I would do if they said you have to get the shot. Now, a lot of people don't realize what the possibility is. Now, this has been discussed. What that could look like is maybe I don't put you in jail, but you're going to get this card if you're vaccinated. Now, this card, without this card, you don't get to go to the grocery store. You don't get to go anywhere.
That's right.
Because, oh, sorry, you know, you have the choice, but you have to live with the consequences of that choice. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it starts to get, is that really any different than mandating it and forcing it?
No, it's not. And this is such an interesting concept because, oh man, this makes me think of you've heard of Black Mirror, the show Black Mirror. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Netflix original, but for those of you who watch Black Mirror, you already know how crazy that show is. But it's interesting because it's always about the near future and the advancement of technology and what it can bring in a negative way. Like what?
There's a trade-off.
Yes. And so one of the episodes I remember is similar to this concept that you're saying, except it's about your social status and a rating system with every interaction you have with somebody. And so if your average star, like it's like 5-star rating. So your average rating dictates your life. So like if you only had a 3-star average, you might not be able to qualify to get that house, or you can't drive that car, or you can't have that. Like you can't. Yes, it's similar. And that's what it made me think of, because it's like this lady, you know, in this episode was doing everything she could to make the best possible, and she made one mistake and like
took it all the way down.
Yeah. And it was just very interesting.
Yeah.
Makes me think of that, like having to conform to the choice.
You have to conform to the masses.
Yeah,
that's a good connection. So I don't know, man. I think those are things we all are in the next several months have to start asking ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want anyone to die of COVID.
Me either.
You know, and when I'm sick, but the truth is, if I have the flu, I shouldn't be going around my sick grandmother anyway.
No.
Like the regular flu. I don't know, man. This is where it can kind of get deep and philosophical. Like, why is the choice... And I feel like we talked about this early on, but we haven't talked about this in a while. Touch base on it. Why does it feel like the only choice I have, for me even, or we, is go on with all these restrictions, or we don't care about people. We don't love people. We're killing people, right?
Yep.
That seems so insane to me.
Yeah, there's just nothing. It's either one or the other.
Yeah, that's the social pressure.
Yeah, that. Oh man, you're right. Because imagine. Oh man, I don't even know why I have to say imagine. Because you're right. This is reality now. It's not even imagine this. Like the fact that we're in a position where if we decide to not partake in the majority,
is it even the majority? This is what gets crazy.
Right.
Or is it the loud minority? That's where it becomes even more interesting to me.
Yeah.
So, like, again, I don't necessarily think it is the majority of people. I think it's culture. I think it's the current of the, it's like river current. The current of society right now and culture is being swept that way. And if we don't go with that, then you're hateful. And I mean, there's people, man, there are people who are saying, you know, I hate to bring it back to politics, but it's kind of become that way a little bit, just to use the terminology. We need to put Trump supporters in camps to deprogram them and all this crazy stuff, man, coming from a certain side. That's a real thing. And then the guy, of course, said, well, I didn't mean it that way. So, but the fact that they even can think that way,
that's insane.
It's odd. It's an odd thing.
I also find it interesting that a lot of those, you know, when it comes to that kind of extreme, like it's interesting because those kind of people are the ones who are also very judgmental against Christians, and they think that we're the ones who are also like, let's do these camps, or we can, what do they call it?
Concentration camp?
No, like Christians, like when like they think that extreme Christians go and bring kids to do.
Oh yeah. Like I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of the word, but
programming camp kind of.
Sure, right, or like I can't think of the word right now. I'll probably come to it later. But like, it's funny how it comes around always, right? Like,
I don't know, guys. I hope those of you that are listening, if you're listening this far, do you ever consider that? You know, drop a comment below or put it, if you're listening on the podcast, you can use the link to give us your thoughts. But, you know, are we crazy? Do you guys feel this way? Do you ever stop and think about what's happening? How often do you just go along with what we're being told to do? And where's your line at? You know, where's your line? I don't know. I just think we're in some odd times. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments. Drop them in the comments below. So there you go, man. That's where we're at.
Yeah,
it's a weird time.
It is a crazy
and a lot of strange news. And stuff.
Lots of strange news, man. And it's crazy. Like I said earlier, it's crazy to think that amidst all that news, that some of it, even though it's so big, just doesn't even get.
No, and you know what else I hate? I hate that you're called a conspiracy theorist if you have any thoughts, if you ask questions.
Yeah.
Or if you dare consider the possibility that there are powerful people trying to control what you think.
Yeah.
Which is a fact. Like you'll believe it in other I want you to consider this. It's just hit me.
Yep.
We will literally have people believe that other countries are influencing us and telling us what to think. But so like Russia is affecting your mind and is doing propaganda and controlling you, which by the way, I'm not saying that they're not messing with stuff or China or whatever. But you'll believe that the quote common person will believe that, but will not believe the United States is doing it like that. That's happening in our own country.
Right. Like
we've even admit that you can. I don't want to go too deep into this.
I was gonna say I already know there's stuff that you can literally. They've declassified a lot of stuff.
We have affected elections in other countries. That's a fact. They've said the CIA and stuff. Look that up. We are definitely shadow banned. If that's a real thing, Fun Turn, I just shadow banned us 100% by bringing that up. I know he's sad. Hey, Rumble, check us out on Rumble.
Yeah, keep pushing Rumble.
Rumble could be big for us.
Absolutely.
I really
honestly,
do.
Man, like, now you said it, like, I know for a fact that we've done a lot of cruel things to our own people over the years as experiments.
But we don't talk about it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but I already know there's a declassified entire project that you can find and read about where we literally were killing our own people. Like, I mean, like...
Well, I know they went... I don't want to get too crazy. It's another episode. But I'm pretty sure... You know what we could do is come with facts. Maybe we'll do that next week.
Yeah.
Do the quote, conspiracy theory episode. Yeah. But we'll come with the... gosh darn it. I promise you I used to be smart. I feel terrible. But with... our sources. Yeah. So we'll come with a list of sources to back up what we're saying so you guys believe us. Because I'm telling you right now, there's one I could tell you right now. I don't even want to say it till I have the source. Yep. Declassified. That's going to blow your mind. That has been proven that we did to test some things before. Oh, man. I'll show it next week. Join us. I'm excited. Lord willing, episode 94. Conspiracy theory. We'll come up with some cool name. But anyway. Yeah, I feel like we haven't done this in a while. Just talked. So that's been nice.
Yeah, dude, this is some of my favorite stuff to talk about because it's so interesting.
This is what we talk about,
and it's so thought provoking, and like you don't. It's funny because even though you can be, awake, to whatever's going on, it's still because of how life seems to be. I guess like you can still find yourself just walking blindly sometimes. Like you forget, even though you know what's going on, you just kind of slide into conformity of what's happening in the world, and it becomes normalized, and then you forget, and then you slowly desensitize, and before you know it, it's normal. And so it's weird because like you said, we've been in this era of COVID for 9-10 months now.
That's surreal.
Oh, it's very surreal.
That's crazy to me.
It's become normal. Yep, it has become normal. And the crazy part is if you would have asked me before all this happened. Yeah, imagine if you would have told me if you Google COVID, it's gonna have a COVID alert, crazy stuff at the top of every Google search you do for COVID. And it's just like COVID alert, as if like weird. It's literally a pandemic. I would have never thought that for a year almost.
Here's a thought to leave people with, and those listening. Fear. That's it right there. So I can see you and I are into this, okay? But let's think of some of our friends. Yeah. Kaylee, Mandy, Taylor, people we've talked to, and I'm not mocking them. Okay, I love them very much. And they're probably not going to watch another Easter egg that'll prove they don't listen. But the anxiety, right? Because that's what we're just sharing can leave some people a lot of anxiety. So I would like to discuss this. Okay. So we live in this world we don't know. What do we know as Christians, and what can we hang our hat on, and more importantly, what can we do in the midst of all this, the chaos of this world? What are we to do, and what can we possibly do? Because it can feel overwhelming. So for you, how does AJ, what do you do with that? How do you approach your day-to-day when you realize there's so many things outside of your control that you have zero control over, say, any of this chaos, right? Mm-hmm. What does your day-to-day life look like as far as what you can do? So one thing that definitely puts my mind at ease when it feels like everything is just crazy and out of control is that God is in control, so I don't have to worry about it. Whatever happens, and he's doing it for a reason. He's either doing it or allowing it for a reason. So I can rest on that. What I can do is I can love God and I can love others, just like I'm called to do. Just because we're in a pandemic or just because, all this craziness is happening doesn't mean I can't stop loving people, So it's good, man. At the end of the day, if it feels like your day-to-day life has been affected to the point where you feel like you have no meaning, like that's not true. Like God always gives you a meaning to anything you do because of what he's called you to do. So as Christians, man, like just because this is happening doesn't mean, we can't love people or we can't love God. Like we can easily, come on, man. Like we have the internet. It doesn't matter. Even if we were to somehow, for some reason, run out of printed books in the entire world, we have the internet. You can look at Bible verses there. You can have an app. And that even goes into loving people. We have Facebook. We have all these other platforms where you can message people and you can encourage them. Like we can use it for good. Anything that we have, we can use it for good.
So, yeah, that's what you can do. I think, God made it Jesus made it very clear when he told us that those are the most two important things to do, because you'll fulfill everything else within those things. I think we just get so caught up in all the other things that we forget that you just got to love God and love others, and all the laws will be fulfilled.
That's so good, man. And I agree with you completely. And that's how I've approached this too. And I think we need to do as believers. But it also brings, what Jesus said and what God has told us time and time again, where it's this sense of him saying, listen, for instance, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. Worry about today. The sparrow doesn't worry about what he's going to eat, right? He still eats. Mm-hmm. The flowers still grow. I am doing things every day that you have zero control over. So why don't you live your life? I've counted the very hairs on your head. I am still in control. Don't worry. And when you think about that, in times like this, it makes it really, really real. Another thing I was thinking as you were talking, sometimes it's the phrase prisoner of a moment.
Yeah.
We've talked about, you know what I mean by that? Mm-hmm. So it's the idea that like we get caught up in the moment and we think that's all there ever has been. So for instance, prisoner of the moment is, let's say right now this election thing. This has never happened in the history of humanity.
Yep.
Well, that's ridiculous. Or we have never in the history of humanity had a world that was so close to the brink of war, and you're like, well, there was a thing called World War I and II in which they were actually at war. Mm-hmm. So my point is, put yourselves in throughout history. There was the Spanish flu that was killing a ridiculous amount of people. Mm-hmm. The Black Plague, the World War I and II that we take. Honestly, man, if you were to put yourself in World War I or II, if people right now are thinking the end times are here, what do you think was happening during World War II? Okay, look at all the way back to the Israelites. Picture how they felt when they were wandering the desert for 40 years.
Yep.
We have to not be a prisoner of the moment. We have to understand that, and I'm talking to myself, that this is where our faith really becomes real, because it cannot be based on the circumstances of this world. And so when Jesus says things like, listen, chaos is going to happen. It's coming. There will be crazy things. You're going to go through trials and tribulations. You need to keep focused on me. You need to remember the promise. You need to read the words. You need to remind yourself and each other constantly. P.S. little addendum. Why, those Christians out there like, I don't need church. Yes, you do. Because otherwise you're going to get caught up in the current of society. Mm-hmm. And Jesus is countercultural. He's going the other way. You need to remember that and be reminded. There's times you tell me things that I get caught up in the moment and you're able to remind me, or I'm able to remind you. With that, when you understand that, who knows, man, this may end up, people look back and crazy things have happened throughout history.
Oh, yeah.
Millions of people have died and been killed, and it's the reality of the world. And what I think happens is during moments like this, when I'm starting to think and process, it's just the moments when we recognize how tenuous life really is. The illusion of our safety and security and the control we have in society and culture and even my own life begins to fade. And you realize, no, like God is God and I am not. And this world is tainted by sin and all these things, and crazy things happen. And it becomes more real, our faith. So what do we do with that? It ties back to what you said.
Yeah.
Love God, which means continue to follow him and read the word and be in community and worship. And also love each other as you love yourself. What does that look like? I am a huge proponent of this, and I don't mean to get so philosophical, but sometimes we're so focused on loving people in the big way that we miss the little ways to love people. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? It means the smile. We've talked about this before at the gas station. It means asking someone how they're doing. It means picking up a Mountain Dew for you, maybe just because I want to love you. It means smiling and acting like you want to be around people instead of being caught up in your own anxiety. It's the little things, man. And I think as believers out there, and this is where I meant by philosophical, picture 100 people doing 100 small things a day. Man, those things add up to create a lot of love out there. And to make people say, why are you doing this? And you go, because my God told me to, and because he loves me, because I love you. You know what I mean? And
that's beautiful,
to tell the gospel to people. That is the gospel. God loves us so much, man, that he chases us all the time, saved us from ourselves, restored us to relationship with him, paid the price for our mistakes and sins, and on top of that continues to bless us every day with breath and with each other. And I don't know. So I love what you said. I think my addition to that would be simply, sure, let's look for big ways to love, but man, guys, don't miss the small ways to love people in your day.
That's good. I like that a lot.
And
I like the idea of like what you said, like 100 things, right? Because when we are in our own anxieties, we tend to think we're alone. We're in it ourselves. And so when you think of those 100 things, like that's never going to happen. And I think that's why it's so good. Like you said, community and all these things are so important in being in church because, and this can even branch farther out, even just not your own church, but also like say your local churches, all that. Like when you can come together, those 100 things become so small and so, so tangible.
I had this thought that anxiety is one of the most selfish things, even though it can be it's not a choice.
Yeah.
But do you think we use anxiety as an excuse to be selfish?
Absolutely. It's like we've
Sometimes. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's like we've made an exception, a special exception for anxiety.
To be selfish?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And even here I am, I feel like I have to add the addendum. Anxiety is a real thing. But I do think, you don't think Jesus had anxiety, man?
Absolutely. Like he cried tears of blood.
I do. I think you can have that and not in depression and all those things and yet still do what God's told us to do and love people. If you don't, then it's just become another excuse to live out of your own desires. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It's
kind of that's a whole nother topic. Hey, we got 2 questions. We'll try to slide here at the end.
Yeah. It's been a great episode, man. I love this.
I think so.
This is awesome.
But we're probably the only 2 that like it. But
check us out on Rumble.
Ready? Here we go.
All right.
What is the which one did I send you?
What is the difference between?
Yeah. Okay. Do you think people are carrying more, as in weight? Do you think people are carrying more emotionally? This is so weird. This topic is going to be crazy, guys. I did not really read this before, but ready? Listen to this. Do you think people are carrying more emotionally due to all the different circumstances of this year? How do you see this, and how can we help this?
Absolutely.
We pretty much just answered
That's so
this.
Crazy. Wow. Thank you for asking this question. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Spirit. So,
amen.
So, yes, absolutely people are. We knew as soon as this started happening and all the shutdowns started happening, we knew people were going to slowly isolate.
Yep.
And honestly, like you said, we said this a long time ago that the cracks are slowly going to start to show and people were going to freak out. And that's exactly what's happened. People are imploding. I think people are
worried, anxious,
yes, and
paranoid.
they don't. And for some reason, maybe if they were more comfortable with sharing that kind of stuff before all this, they are not anymore. And it's just become, like you said, it's just been a lot of digression.
So how do you feel like, what are some tangible ways you've seen that people are carrying it more lately? Like in the people around you?
People are way more reserved. You can tell. They don't talk as much.
You said isolated. I think that's a really good point.
They're not as involved anymore in things.
Do you think they're more selfish? And here's what I mean by that.
Absolutely. They look out for themselves more.
Like, I can't get COVID. I can't get this. I'm not doing this. I have someone I care about. This person will never watch this, so I can say it. All they ever talk about is their own, I can't get this. I can't do this. My people got really angry at someone who said their kids got COVID because they were around them at one point when they didn't even know.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. It makes people, I agree with you. I think people are more anxious that I've seen. I would add to that. I think people are acting, depression is kind of being talked more about. I think people are more worried. I definitely think people are more snappy.
Oh, definitely more snappy.
I think people are more ready to have conflict and to be paranoid in the sense of this person's out to get me, or even not even related to COVID, but just interactions. Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you said. Here in Indiana, I don't know where it is in the rest of the states. How long were we actually in isolation?
Month or 2, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's even say it was 2. I think you're right. I think it was 2.
Yeah.
So 2 months of people not interacting really at all.
Mm-hmm.
We knew this was going to happen. We talked about this, and you come out, and now it's like they never came out, man.
Yep.
And I would.
It's like their body came out, with their spirit did not. It's still isolated.
So yeah, I think it's made people kind of the whole thing of I got to look out for me and mine. Mm-hmm. And what's really scary is when you hear Christians say that.
Yeah.
Right. And well, Todd, what are you saying? You shouldn't care. Yes, you should care about your family, but like I could get real deep here, and sometimes I feel like people can't handle this. You need to read the Bible. Okay, you need to understand your concept of Americanized Christianity sometimes, where your marriage and your family and you is put above. Like you've got you, and yeah, you'll love people if there's anything left over, is not biblical.
I agree.
Right, and that's a whole different topic. So that's how I see. The next question they said, and I'll bring it to you, is they said, what can we do about that? How can we help? They said.
How can we help? We got to call people out.
There's some truth to that. Or ask questions. I think that's a big thing I like to mean.
You don't want to attack anybody because that's not going to help at all. They're just going to isolate more. But yes, I absolutely think we got to ask questions. You're right. We got to invest in people. You know, we can't give up on people. We can't let them just sit where they're at.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a very important part. Another way to help, let them know you're there for them. You know, that's a big one.
I think it goes back to doing those small, looking for those ways to love people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with you. They're not alone. Look for ways to love each other. Don't spill on people is one we've talked about. One. So like maybe you're having a lot of that today. Anxiety, worry, panic. Talk to someone about it. But also, don't spill that on other people, man. Like, don't add to that. It's almost like you might be on fire and you come in and like, I want to start everybody on fire.
Yeah.
Versus finding someone you care about and going, hey, I'm on fire. You want to help me?
Extinguish it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So looking for ways to love. So what did our answer, AJ's answer, my answer together is, you know, ask questions / call them out. Bring up those points like, hey, what is that? Especially if they're believers. But non-believers, it's even different. You can still ask questions like, hey, why are you, what's going on? That's not you.
Yep.
How can I help? Asking the same question you asked us. How can I help you today, Bob?
Yep.
Right? Looking for letting them know you care and letting them know you care tangibly, doing little things.
Yes.
I love the idea of going and dropping off a card and a roll of toilet paper. That would be a funny one, right?
It's a funny one.
Just little ways to let people know. And also remind people that it's going to be okay. We don't know what that looks like, but I know this. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I believe what he said. So that tells me long term, I don't know what it looks like, but it's going to be okay.
I'm good.
Right? Yeah, triple E. Let it go. Great question.
Good. So, other one we have here is, what is the difference between a feeling and a conviction? How can one tell the difference?
Good question. So it's hard to know the full context.
Yeah.
Because this could go a lot of different ways. My initial thought is a conviction will never contradict the Bible.
That's good.
Okay? Conviction will never directly contradict the Bible. A conviction, the end goal of a conviction is to lead you closer to God and to being more like God. Feelings don't always do that.
No.
And that's really the best answer I have.
They make you hide from God sometimes.
Sometimes, or like justify treating people in a way that God said not to, or justify, all those things. So I think feelings tend to justify actions. Convictions tend to drive action.
That's good.
That makes sense?
I like that. Yep.
So best answer I got for you.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. That's good.
Hey, thank you, man. Good episode today.
Yeah, you
appreciate your thoughts.
This was fun.
Fun turn. Appreciate you, man. Felt he was nodding and shaking and letting us know we're on the right track sometimes. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You got anything to say to the crowd?
Hey, thank you guys so much for sticking with us and watching this episode. If you made it, if you didn't, come on, man. So I love you guys. Like Todd said, check us out on Rumble. It's a weird thing that happens. So, we honestly don't know what's going to happen. So, especially because this episode a little controversial.
We brought up some topics.
So,
be a good test.
If you don't see us on Facebook, hey, we'll be on YouTube. And if you don't see us on YouTube, hey, we'll be on Rumble. So, love you guys. Appreciate you. Keep asking questions. It's completely anonymous. We stay true to that. We mean that. We can't this cool little link that we have, we literally can never tell who it is. So even if you want to be mean, bring it. We don't know who you are. So other than that, yeah, I think other than that, I think I'm good, man. Thank you guys. Love you.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind if something does happen, you're not seeing our stuff. We're on Spotify, all those things.
Yes.
Every podcast format. I know a lot of people like the podcast because you're driving down the road or whatever. That's cool. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I love what you said. It was a powerful statement, and you meant ask us questions. But I want to challenge you guys. Keep asking questions in life.
Yeah.
Keep asking God questions. Keep asking the questions of why. When you're, in our culture even, there's nothing wrong with saying, wait, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Be an active thinker and an active participant in life. Don't just be swept along the current. This is your life and the lives of those you care about in general. We're not even saying right now to like make panic, just mean in general. I think it's a good rule of life to live a life that is active in the sense that understand things. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. If someone tells you it's wrong to ask a question, they're hiding something. So yeah, thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate and love you so much, whether you're listening on, you're part of the Pod Squad, podcast family, or YouTube or Facebook, or like, listen, we're really going to be putting a lot of energy into Rumble. If you haven't downloaded Rumble, it's a free app. Go download it. Look for us. Give us that thumbs up. Give us that subscription, whatever I can't remember the equivalent.
Rumble.
Yeah, give us a Rumble, and we're gonna be there. So come check us out there. That's RUMBLE, Rumble. Yep. Other than that, would you please like this video if it blessed you in any way? Would you share this video? Would you write a comment if you're listening on the video?
Yes.
All of that's called engagement. It helps us reach people, which becomes even more important if there is some sort of weird little ban or we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
Please, guys, especially those of you who are our long-term listeners, we need your help. Be on our team. Help us out and share, like, and comment. When you share, put a little blurb up there of something that interests you with maybe even a timestamp. That might help people.
Yes.
Other than that, you can donate to Real Talk anytime. It's completely tax deductible at www.theremnant.life/give. There's a drop-down box. Go down to Real Talk, and it goes directly to this ministry.
Yes.
We are so thankful for you guys. I don't think there's anything else I'm forgetting.
I don't think so.
We'll hopefully see you this Thursday if you like what you hear. It's actually a lot different. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's more like a talk show now, but we'll be going live on Facebook and Rumble and YouTube possibly. So I don't know if you can, but we'll figure it out eventually. It can happen. So go check us out on Facebook at least. We'll have a guest on. We should be having some guests, some other pastors and things on these web series episodes moving forward, which we're excited about.
Oh, yeah.
My voice is fading fast. You hear it? Anyway, we hope you guys have a great day. Please continue to pray for us. We pray for you. We're going to keep doing that. Hope you have a great day, and really and truly, God bless you.